And welcome back, fellow adventurers, to Let's Play Dragon Age 2. We're going to start out here at our rather humble abode as we finish up Chapter 1. We're going to be doing that by actually going through Bethany's quest, which is to see if we can get back some of our inheritance here from the Amel family. And after that, we're going to talk to all of the new companions that we've recently recruited. Before we get started, I'd just like to thank everyone for voting for the romance choice. And the most votes that were received at the time of this recording were for Hawke to have a romance with Fenris. And so that's what we'll be doing. So, again, just thanks everyone for voting for what you wanted. And just to show how these things tend to go, of those four characters, my favorite romance is actually with Meryl. And at least at the time of this recording, that's the one person who no one voted for. So it just shows you how much, that opinion and taste can differ between people as to who they end up romancing in a given playthrough of games like BioWare games like this and Mass Effect and all that kind of stuff. Some people always end up romancing the character who they just generally prefer as a player. Others romance based on role-playing reasons. And some have a romance a character just to see what it might be like. So there's all different reasons, but Fenris won out in the votes for this time around, so that's what we're going to be doing. I'm just going to have a quick check there here in my journal, but we don't have any new letters yet. We'll be getting a few as we start to talk to people and getting some new quests. But like I said, we're going to go through the quest called Birthright, which is going back to the to Hawke's mother's and her uncle Gamlen's ancestral home, which has now been taken over, unfortunately, by slavers. So obviously for this quest we're going to take Bethany. Our newest warrior is Fenris, so we'll take him along. And let's see, that leaves us with a rogue. Let's just take Varric. So we need to go. The estate itself is in Hightown, but there's a secret entrance into it in Darktown, so that's what we'll go. There we are. And looks like both Bethany and Varric could use some leveling, so we'll do that really quick. Always do magic, and let's do a little dex, I think. We're going to see if we can finish up Bethany's fire and ice tree here. And for Varric, let's see, what should we do for Varric? Let's finish up the Bianca tree there. I tend to play this game in chunks, so it's been actually a little bit while since I last played. Always have to get a little bit back into the swing of the controls. Okay, that's where Anders is, but we're going to go this way.
This is the cellar door. Let's go in and see why Gamlen lied.
Indeed. Seems a little too quiet around here. And sure enough.
That's enough!
Oh, that didn't go too badly. Let's see what kind of loot is around here. This is basically the cellar of the estate, so not the most well decorated part of the mansion. Barrel here. Upstairs, it's locked. Figures. Let's try this way. I think there's traps around here somewhere. Varric did the rain of arrows, so I didn't need to. Okay. Crate over here.
The Amel crest. Mother described it, but this is the first time I've seen it. Wouldn't it feel like something to live in a house with this above the door?
Indeed, and if you look back at the transition screen to this quest, you could see that it's actually the same symbol as this. So the Amel family crest is two, I want to say raptors, birds of prey. Maybe they're eagles. Maybe they actually are hawks, which would kind of be kind of interesting given the last name of the man that Hawke's mother ended up marrying. But in any case, here we go. The Amel family. It's truly sad what happened to the Amels, isn't it? I still remember grandmother talking about the balls that Lord Aristide used to hold at their estate, and the Antivan violin players and dancers from here we go with the names again. Afsana. No expense was spared, and no one would dare miss it, lest someone think they weren't worthy of an invitation. And then poor Revka had the child. Magical talent. Running in one of Kirkwall's most prominent families? The Templars had considered Lord Lord A to be Viscount after Threnhold's arrest. Can you imagine the scandal had he been chosen? They whisked the child away to the Circle, and the Amels simply had no luck after that. Leandra ran off with a Ferelden mage, and then Damian was accused of smuggling. Poor Lord Faustin almost bankrupted his family trying to get the charges dropped. But I hear Viscount Marlowe simply wanted the Amels out of the picture. And it worked too, didn't it? By the time Lord Faustin got sick, there was only young Gamlen left and a mountain of debt. I spoke to Dulcie just the other day, and apparently Gamlen is now living in some low-town shack. Sounds like the sort of character you'd cross the street to avoid. And let's not even talk about the estate. Mother says we should remember the Amels because that sort of thing could happen to any of us. You know the old saying, a marcher's fortune rises and falls with the tide. If you ask me, this is just another misfortune that magic brings to honest folk. Andraste helped that poor family, whatever lies in store for them. Excerpt from a letter written by Lady Amelie de Montfort, or Montfort, sounds a little bit French. And keep this name in mind right here. He says that the writer here says, I spoke to Dulcie about having a person of magic in the family. That's actually going to come up quite a bit later in the story. It's not a super important fact. I just think it's a nice little detail there. Fenris is leveled up. So, strength, con, and let's have him resist magic, because we all know how much Fenris loves mages. Okay. I want to increase his defense. Actually, before we do that, does he have a taunt? I know that Aveline has a taunt ability, which has everyone... here we go, taunt. There we go. It's always nice to give your your tanks that ability so that they can force enemies to converge on them instead of on more vulnerable characters. So here we got a portrait of, well, when they say your mother, it means Hawke's, obviously. Portrait of your mom. And a belt. And this is the first of the gifts. The gift system in Dragon Age 2 is slightly different than in the original game. So when we give that to Bethany, I'll explain it a little bit further.
I don't like the looks of this.
There's the trap I was trying to find. I knew that one of these rooms had him.
Done.
Sometimes it's very convenient to be the rogue.
Gotcha.
We never get on our bad side. Seems to be filthy.
Okay. That's the gift is just a side thing. It's not the actual point of the quest. Of course, what it really is to find that copy of the will. I think that's in about one more room from here. Getting a good amount of armor pieces around here. Got a sack with a longsword. And the history of Kirkwall Chapter 2. Alright, so continuing on from Chapter 1 here. As the Imperium's borders slowly receded after the devastation of the First Blight and the subsequent barbarian invasion, many outposts in the area known today as the Free Marches were cut off from centers of power. Numerous warlords tried consolidating the region into a single kingdom, but resistance prevailed. Amerius held out for almost a century until it fell to a slave revolt in 25 Ancient. It was not the first such revolt Amerius suffered, but it was the last. It started when an Almari slave named Radun began earning popularity and power by pushing for better conditions. Radun's growing influence prevented the Magisters from touching him, but eventually they had him poisoned. Furious, a group of Radun's supporters stormed the gallows and were massacred, and so began a bloody year-long rebellion. The city burned, and wealthy Hightown was sacked. The Magisters hung before cheering crowds. Amerius assumed the new name of Kirkwall, Kirk meaning black, and its after its jetstone cliffs. The new city plunged into anarchy for over a decade, and its defenses fell into ruin. Kirkwall has been conquered many times since, and the city's own independence suffering since the freeing of its slaves. So, a little bit more history from Mr. Genetivi.
Watch your step.
For some reason, it's sending me tutorial messages about combat there. There's the Master Slaver. We're going to make short work of him first. And for this fight, especially on harder difficulties, I definitely recommend that you take him out first. He's a pretty potent mage, and if you don't take care of him, he's going to zip around the battlefield doing a lot of damage. But off his body, we get the Vault Key. Fenris is having fun in the back room here, which will lead to what we ultimately want. Locked chest, but simple enough for us. Some more weapons and pieces of armor. We'll go through them once we're out here.
That's a vault.
It is the vault.
We want to know about our family is inside.
And apparently just by opening the vault, we get some friendship points for Bethany. Let's see what she's at right now. Oh, pretty close. So here's, like I showed you before, this is the friend-rival meter. You can see she's almost to this end, and at the point where this goes all the way to the side, this will finally have it'll change its appearance slightly, and then we'll know that we're locked into the friend path for Bethany, which means that she will consider us a friendly sibling, so to speak, no matter what kind of choices we make for the rest of the game, and will support us in whatever we do. A good amount of money along with some sellable junk, and finally the will. Oh, wait a minute. No, not in here. This is just more money.
This is it.
Oh, there it is.
Grandfather's will. Mother needs to see this as soon as possible.
Indeed. And we've already looted the place, so let's get out of here.
We'll take it to her right now.
So once again, there it is. That's the Amell
So I'm
family
just
crest.
saying, blood's blood and all, but you are taking advantage of my hospitality. It's only fair if you make something of a monthly contribution.
You sold my children into servitude. Now you're asking me to pay rent?
Maybe just put something towards food.
We found the will.
He forgave you, Mother. Grandfather left you everything. Here, read it.
I should maybe...
To my daughter Leandra, and all children born of her, the estate in Hightown and all associated revenues.
What do you have to say for yourself?
You're the one who ran away, Leandra. What happened to love is so much more important than money.
It is!
You didn't even come home for the funeral.
The twins were a week old.
We all have our burdens. Mine was looking after a life you abandoned. How long was I supposed to wait?
I doubt you let the ashes get cold.
I took care of Father. I stayed. And on his deathbed, all he could talk about was Leandra. Look, sister, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it, but I did. And there's nothing I can do to get it back.
I don't expect that, Gamlen. It's enough to know Mother and Father didn't die angry. I'll petition the Viscount for rights to reclaim the estate. Make her willing, you'll have your house back within weeks.
You don't have the coin or standing to even get an audience with the Viscount. You've got to be someone in this city to live in that house again.
Then I had better get started.
So that's the end of that little mystery there. Although you probably somewhat suspected that ending just by how Gamlen was behaving. And to be fair, he's not 100% sleazy, because the fact is that he did take care of his parents until their death, and yet they left everything to his sister. Now that could have been simply because they felt that she would have been a much better caretaker of the money, and circumstances since then seem to have proved that was probably the case. So, as usual, in Dragon Age, things are complicated. For now, though, let's talk to Bethany, and we'll go ahead and give her that gift that we found in the estate, which was the portrait of their respective mother.
Why don't you go pick up something at the market? You could use some air.
What? Hey!
I can't believe Gamlen stole Mother's entire inheritance. I mean, I can believe it. That's the worst part. I could never turn against my own sister like that.
You're a better person than Gamlen could ever be.
Well, hopefully we'll be out of here soon. You know, when we went to look for that will, I thought we were doing it for Mother, for what she lost. I didn't realize how much it would mean to me. To know I had grandparents who didn't hate me.
I wish they had lived long enough to see us come home.
Home. That's what it is, isn't it? I liked saying that. We're not running away again. We're coming home.
What do you mean, running away again?
Did you think I don't know? How often we had to move because the Templars were coming. I know how much you all sacrificed to protect me. But we're at the end of the line now. There's nowhere left to run. And there's something almost comforting in that.
Are you unhappy here?
I wish I could do more for Mother. Carver's death. It's killing her slowly every day. But maybe if we can reclaim some of what she lost, it will help. I'd do anything to get us back a normal life. What do you think Carver would have made of all this?
He would have hated this place. All the sneering nobles. He'd have gotten himself arrested the first day. And he would have wanted in on your Deep Roads expedition. Anything to make a name for himself. Sometimes I still can't believe he's gone.
Can you imagine if we'd grown up here? Been nobility? Had grandparents who bought us Orlesian silk dresses with lace petticoats?
Father was a good man, but Mother gave up so much for him.
Of course, if she hadn't worked up the nerve to elope, she probably wouldn't have been able to resist the Templars either.
If we'd been born here, you'd be nothing more to me than a name the Circle kept in my file.
We're going to make this our home, Bethany. I promise you.
I hope so, sister. I'm so very tired of running.
Okay. Let's see. Yep. We can talk to her one more time here. So I think this is when we give her the gift.
I found this when we were at the estate. I thought you should have it.
Is it? I think this is Mother's betrothal portrait from when she was supposed to marry the Comte. Look! You can see the ring.
I suppose it would have been a bit awkward to take it with her.
I know she loved Father. I guess I just wondered if she'd have been happier if he hadn't been a mage. If I wasn't a mage. I know that made it hard for Mother. It's nice to have a reminder of a time when she still knew how to smile.
Okay, so we got some more friendship points, and I think that pretty much will do it. So now Bethany is locked in on the friend path here. And so the one difference with gifts in Dragon Age 2 is that in the original Dragon Age, gifts always created approval, which was useful because with approval for your companions came actual game benefits, buffs and to your strength as a party and so forth. But here in Dragon Age, since either a friendship or a rivalry path can make the story interesting and can be useful in game, the gifts can help you either way. And basically, if you are already on a friendship path with a follower and you give them a gift, the dialogue will take, a much lighter tone and you'll gain more friendship. If you give them a gift and you're on the rivalry path, they will react usually negatively to the gift in some way, and then you will get rivalry points out of it. So it will help you more to either extreme. Let's go ahead and say hi to our dog Loco.
Keep it down, dog. All that noisy dog breath, day in, day out, make him stop.
Well, pardon my dog for breathing. If you think you can stop him, be my guest.
There, isn't that annoying? Ah, blight take you.
Hey man, that's what dogs do. I think he's still a bit depressed that he's in this really cramped little hovel here.
When I told your grandmother I was marrying your father, she threatened to disown me. She said my children would be mongrels. My father wanted to lock me in, but she told him it's her life, let her ruin it. I wrote to her when each of you were born. She never wrote back. I'm glad she didn't die hating me.
The estate is yours. Why are we still here?
Technically, the house is now property of the Viscount, since its owner died without an heir. If we went there now, we would just be squatters. But if the Viscount acknowledges our rights, we can get back more than the house. We can get back our name.
Grandmother didn't want you to leave. She tried holding on to you the only way she knew.
She would have been so proud of you. You're everything she wanted in an Amel grandchild. She might have had a hard time accepting it at first, but she would have loved you, all three of you. Carver. He was such a little boy. Never had a knee that wasn't scraped or trousers without holes.
He was so young. Never got to be the man he wanted.
I just keep thinking there's something we could have done. It's killing me. I remember that awful creature reaching down and 18 years of loving and feeding and raising, and that was it.
Blame the Darkspawn, not yourself.
The ogre would have been happy with any prey. It was my fault it was Carver. I miss him. There were 4 of us when the Blight began. It will never be over while there are just 3. I've written to the Viscount. I've an audience for after Bartrand's expedition leaves. I couldn't do anything for Carver, but with luck, I could at least give us a home.
Very specific timing there. She'll see the Viscount after the very last quest of this act happens. So, but yeah, Hawke has a little bit more incentive now. Initially, her incentive was still pretty good to go on the expedition, which was to get enough money to keep the Templars from coming after Bethany. But now, with that same money, there's a possibility of securing their ancestral residence. So things are kind of aligning themselves here. All right, we're done with that, so we're going to go and talk to all of our newly gotten followers over the past few quests here. So it doesn't, when you go to see a character for conversation, it really doesn't matter who you take with you, because in the end, it's just one-on-one talking. So it doesn't make too much difference here who we choose. And we're going to go in the same order that we went in obtaining our companions in the first place. So we're going to go and talk with Aveline first. At least I think she has a quest. We'll check. I guess I shouldn't say quest. Conversation. And you have these at least once an act. Sometimes you'll get them 2 or 3 times in the later acts. Some leveling up for Isabella. Let's see. I think Isabella needs a lot more dexterity to get some of that. Use some of the weapons that I want her to use. I'm going to give her backslide, or blind side. I can't talk today. Since it's very useful, especially since she's a dagger rogue. And for Aveline, we go to Safeguard, which is another really useful skill for fighters. It allows or disallows any critical hits.
How much longer do I have to wait?
Not much room in the barracks, but there's nowhere I'd rather be.
Ah, yes. Okay, we can talk to her, so let's do that.
Varric, no.
Well, you're the captain. Or you will be. It'll be easy.
I'm not petitioning the Viscount to help you steal ownership of the Hanged Man.
Steal? Madam, you wound me.
I'm about to. Big changes are coming, huh? Captain of the Guard. Thank you, Wesley.
That you keep his memory speaks well of him.
He's not with me. I know that. Wesley's at the Maker's side, or he's not. Either way, he knows no pain. What I keep is that moment. I won't let anyone down like that again.
Wesley's at the Maker's side, or he's not. What do you mean by that?
Wesley believed, and if he was correct, then that's where he is. But this business of the less the Maker does, the more he's proven, I don't find it compelling.
But you married a Templar.
I married a man, a good one, and he's gone. I have heard the chant,
It is lovely. Perhaps that's all it needs to be.
You clearly miss Wesley, but that's not the issue.
Of course I miss him, but he's not coming back. Pining like a child serves no one. So I remember him, but I let him rest.
You're not so kind to yourself, though.
No.
I don't see how you can take the blame for the Darkspawn Horde.
I put him to the sword myself, Hawke.
At his behest.
I know in my head that it was right. So did Wesley. But in my heart, that cut was cruel.
I can imagine.
I can't imagine the captain of the guard will like wandering in my shadow.
It's not like this job means we're on opposite sides. The good you do, it seems rather appropriate. Besides, I'll be making the patrol schedule, and I don't intend to lead from a desk.
So here you can see that there is a what appears to be a flirt option here. However, this is kind of misleading because, as I said before, you can't actually pursue a romance with Aveline under any circumstances in the game. So, if this is your first time playing and you might be interested, you might choose these options thinking that you'll be able to get in a romance, but it never happens. So I think that's a little misleading from the game designers. The only thing that I see that kind of comes out of it that might be interesting is the idea of playing a hero who pines for someone but never actually is able to get them, so to speak. So I guess that can be interesting, but other than that, it's just pointless flirting at that point.
I look forward to working with you, Guard Captain Aveline.
Still strange, isn't it? Captain of the Guard. Thank you for helping me get here, Hawke. It's where I should be.
Alright, let's see where we are with Aveline. We are about maybe a third towards her friend path. There is actually a good reason why we were able to get to Bethany to be a friend so much faster than we're going to get any of the other companions.
Nothing going on, Hawke.
We'll run into that
You'd be the
reason
first
later.
to know if there was.
But for now, for all your other followers besides the surviving sibling who's with you, it's going to take a while before you get to the either extreme friend or rival, unless you're really take all of the quote-unquote proper responses. I intend to play Hawke a little bit more complex, and so there might be a little bit of going back and forth between friend and rival for some of the characters. But that's just kind of the way it is. So I think I'll just go ahead and state it here, because this was another vote that you guys decided, and that was that Hawke's personality in regards to the Mage Templar conflict was to be a compromiser. And as such, her relationship with the more extreme characters is going to be more strained than with the more middle-of-the-road characters. For example, Isabella has a kind, and actually Varric as well, have kind of balanced positions about not really favoring the Templars versus the Mages. So those two will probably get along with Hawke pretty well and support her in a lot of her decisions. Whereas more extreme characters like, of course, Meryl, who doesn't believe consorting with demons is perfectly fine, or with Anders, who thinks that the Templars are evil incarnate, or even Fenris, who thinks the Mages are evil incarnate. There's going to be a little bit more strain, I think, with the relationships, but that's how I intend to play it. And we'll just see how things work out. Let's go talk to our next person who we picked up, which I believe is Varric. So let's go to the Hangman, see if he has anything to say. And if not him, maybe Isabella, since they both have the same headquarters here. And it turns out they both have things to say, so let's go.
How do you do that?
Do what, kitten?
sort of swagger when you walk. I've been trying, but I trip over my own feet when I do it.
You just strut. It's not something you practice.
How do I learn it then?
It comes to you, usually at night.
It's like a lover, or maybe a burglar.
Either it ravishes you, or runs off with all your jewelry, and you have to run it down and stab it in the heart. And that metaphor got a bit away from me, didn't it?
I think it did, but it was certainly exciting.
I like the Meryl-Isabella relationship that they have during the game. It's kind of cute. Hello, Mr. Varric. What do you have to say?
So, I've been dying to know. What was going through your head when you fought that ogre?
For the first few seconds, what do they feed those things?
I don't know anyone else that's even seen one. You're lucky just to be standing here. Somehow, Hawke, I imagine things won't be dull with you around. Not that I expect the deep roads to be boring, mind you. Constant threat of doom does tend to keep you awake.
Anything in particular I should know about your brother?
To understand Bartrand, you've got to understand the Dwarven Merchants Guild. These are dwarves who would sell their mothers if they thought it'd get them a better share of the lyrium market. Anyone who deals with them has to sleep with a knife under their pillow. In my family, that's Bartrand.
Doesn't sound like a fun life.
If we'll be working together, I should find out more about you.
You're in luck. I'm always willing to talk about myself to beautiful women. My family came from Orzammar, noble house Tethras, until my father got caught fixing provings. He and our whole house got exiled. No huge loss. I was born up here. Sunshine suits me just fine.
Are you a merchant? A mercenary?
I'm a younger son. It's a difficult and dangerous profession. A lot of us die of boredom. Fortunately, being Bartrand's younger brother keeps me on my toes. Maker knows he lacks subtlety. I'm the one who pulls strings to keep the coterie out of our hair, keep us just a whisker ahead of the other families.
What are your plans for this trip into the deep roads?
Bartrand's running the show. Andraste's ass, he'd probably do that even if we weren't paying for everything. The tide we're looking for is supposed to be a week's travel from the surface, so I hope you aren't scared of the dark. We've got supplies, muscle, excavators. The plan is to carry out everything that's not nailed down.
Oh, that should work.
A lot of things can keep you awake, you know. I wouldn't reach for the doom first.
Sure, I could have a cup of tea in the morning, but I hear it's bad for you. I've spent my whole life in Kirkwall. Dangerous enough most days, but it doesn't compare to the deep roads. So, this will be, let's just call it an adventure, I guess.
Great. Now we're adventurous.
That's how a lot of interesting stories start out. Let's go have an adventure. Alright, well, Isabella's right here, so we might as well talk to her next.
Maker. I think he's ignoring me now.
Hey! Is my coin not good enough for you? Oh, Hawke. Thanks for helping me with that little problem I had. You going to buy me a drink to celebrate our victory?
I don't know if that's wise.
Oh, please. Fixating on what's wise makes you forget what's fun.
Oh, before I forget, are you still looking for work? Because I have a friend who needs some help.
Is this a friend or a friend?
I never let him steer my ship, if that's what you're asking. From what I hear, he doesn't have good control of his rudder. His name's Martin. He has a room right here in the Hanged Man. Tell him I sent you. Now, you going to leave me to my drinking or what?
Ah, so this is more than just a conversation. We actually get a companion quest out of it.
So he comes down wearing
And so let's actually... There's no reason we can't go ahead and do that right now. Just need to prep my party for it. We already have Isabella in there. So let me think. Who would I want to take on a little bit of cloak and dagger here? I think both Varric and Isabella will have some fun with that. So let's see. Let's have Anders around. Why not? Some of the next few larger quests I have, I won't necessarily be taking him a lot of the time, so try to balance everyone's screen time out here. Plus I need to level him up anyway. Okay, his healing is good. Give him some more spirit abilities. Walking Bomb is always fun. It's a similar ability to what Morrigan had back in the original game, where you can turn an enemy into an explosion. Hurt nearby enemies. It's fun. Unless you have friendly fire turned on, then it's pretty darn dangerous. Now, Isabella said that her contact was here. So let's see if we can find him. Yeah, there he is, down at the bottom of the map.